I am so honored to bring this conversation to you. I invite you to deeply listen as Jyoti weaves her story of presence and community and right relationship together into a glorious tapestry. May you open to curiosity and be truly present in the storytelling she shares with us. This is not to be missed. Welcome to the Devoted Way podcast, all about magic and miracles from me, Sora Schilling. It's time to hone in on your intuition, become masterful at energy work, and live life based on your design, your unique blueprint encoded with stardust from the ethereal realm and from those that have come before you. You know what to do and how to be, so trust in yourself. This podcast series is part of a 13-day challenge called Stellar Transformational Act of Reverence, otherwise known as STAR, hosted inside of our Devoted Discord. In each episode, I will randomly announce a keyword that you can use to earn points and win amazing prizes during the challenge. Stay tuned until the end of the episode for more information. Jyoti Ma is an internationally renowned spiritual teacher. She has cultivated projects that demonstrate ways of life that honor the earth and all peoples. As a grandmother vision keeper of the Center of Sacred Studies, she co-founded Kayumari with spiritual communities both in America and Europe. Other projects she has helped to convene are the International Council of 13 Indigenous Grandmothers and the Unity Concert. She is the founder of The Fountain. Its mission is to restore an economic model that is based on reciprocity and collaboration guided by nature and the sacred. She serves as the delegate of the Mother Earth Delegation of United Indigenous Nations, and it is through this current work in collaboration with The Fountain that a global Sacred Territories initiative is evolving to protect Mother Earth's sacred sites and her original peoples. Jyoti has devoted her life to bringing unity to the planet by facilitating the development of alliances between individuals who are the guardians of indigenous culture and the traditional medicine ways. Through this work, collaborative relationships with organizations that are focused on economic, social, and environmental solutions have developed, creatively addressing the global challenges of our time. Blessings, Jyoti. I am so excited that you are here with us today.
Oh, it's so much my privilege. You are such a gift to the world. And so however we can play and weave today, I'm quite looking forward.
Me too. One of the things that I love, and I'm already getting shivers around my body, is the fact that we can come together and the most amazing alchemical process can happen. And what I love about you is that you always share through stories. And I've learned so much from you and the power of storytelling and how it weaves us together in the most heart-centered way.
The old people say that there is a story stalking you. And whenever you're ready, it will pounce upon you and begin to live and speak through you.
I love that.
Yeah, that's how it was for me in my life, for sure.
Oh my goodness. Can you tell me a little bit about that regarding you so naturally weave stories as part of your medicine? I know as we are together, and you and I have been walking this path together as my mentor and my guide and council member for a little while now. And where did that start, the storytelling? Did it start at a young age or did it just kind of evolve?
Well, I would say there was a story stalking me from the very early days of my life. But I didn't realize it, it was just so natural. When I was a little girl, my mom and I always had a challenging relationship. And I lived in Texas, so I would find my way out on the plains of Texas, and I always found this weeping willow tree. And I loved it because the weeping willows there have these big, long, drippy kind of arms that kind of make a curtain. So a little one like 8 or 9 years old, would love to get behind the curtain. And I would find that there would be an arm of the tree that I could kind of snuggle up in. And that became my mama. And then Jesus would come to me, and he wasn't all dressed up in robes. He was just kind of like regular people. And he would teach me things and share stories with me. And I remember him teaching me how to fly out of myself and into the clouds. Now, I know he was helping me learn how to astral travel at that time, but I didn't know that was the case. But he was just that person I could always run to and speak to. And that became a walk for me, that later would get, because of our culture, would get quieted and pushed down into a box to hide inside of me. Because I learned very quickly that when I would come and share some of the things I was being taught or shown, that I'd get sent to my room for making up things. Exaggerating would be the word, and I'd get in trouble. So I learned that wasn't the way to go. But later, as I got to be an adult, and Spirit would have me and my husband bring together a spiritual community that now is international in scope, that it really brought a village of people together just like myself, that had received those kinds of experiences and presences in their life. And they too had to push it down in a box and keep it quiet, because our Western cultures made a taboo about having such divine experience take place individually from you and coming from the inside out to you, it was different than what the West was teaching us. And so we would learn that we were calling out those inner children, those psychic children, those gifted ones, the gift of all of us. Every one of us has one living inside of us, I've come to see, and come out and feel safe, that they could come out and be who they were in their own authenticity and give voice to that. And that community took off around the world. So there were a lot of us.
I am going to come back to the community because I do want to ask more questions. Before we do, you were sharing how at a very early age, you were being taught of the mysteries of the unknown and connecting with spirit. Was there ever, and then there were many adults who were telling you to go to your room and that stop making stories. Was there any time throughout your life at the early age into your teens and onward where you lost that magic, or did you always find ways to cultivate it before your adulthood?
That's a very good question. I think it just was such a natural experience and state for me that the hardest part was excuse me, listening to people that were my authority figures, that were not able to hold that space with me. If I had been born into an indigenous village, the elders would have seen that right on, and they would have put me with others in the village that could have helped hold that story with me and help train me up so I could hold it in a good way and bring it as a gift to the village. That's what it's all about. We all carry a gift inside to offer to our village. So that may have possibly been what so impressed me that later in my adult life and in my life now, that my last particularly 35 or 40 years that I have walked so closely with our First Nation peoples globally, because I have such a regard for their way of life. And it was the way of life that I believe is actually the medicine of our times, because they can help us remember and restore how to come back to a way of life where all life is sacred, and that we all carry a gift to offer to the village.
Yeah.
So, from my teens on, because of that constriction around the Western thinking, I really pushed things down. And later, as I got to be an adult, I always had intuitive understandings of things, and just had an awareness that was there and available to me, that I worked with quietly, and it was part of who I was and how I got along in life with people in my life. and how I grew things that in my world. I remember when I was a young adult, I was living in Texas, and I was working with juvenile delinquents. They called them juvenile delinquents. And I was asked at one point of my career to go and help to establish one of the first halfway houses for juvenile delinquents. And I was one of the first women that had ever taken on such a role. And so people were expecting me to fall down and not make it. That was the deal. That was part of why they put me there, I think. But instead, one night when I was meditating with how to hold this and how do I bring this into a space that will empower these young people, that will give them a space where they feel safe, maybe for the first time in their lives, and can start to heal from the horrendous histories that they have walked. And I got a complete download of what that program needed to look like. And we put it in motion, and it worked. It worked in a very impressive way. And it actually got used in other situations and other programs around the state later on. So that was always how it kind of was intertwined in my life in more of a quiet kind of way. And then as I got into my older adult life and the Kundalini woke up everything in me, it actually happened prior to that, probably about 8 years prior to my first awakening processes beginning, when my father died. And I had a near-death experience with him. It was way before people were talking about such things or talking about meeting the light on the other side and all of that. But my dad died of cancer, and on his deathbed, we started to telepathically talk to one another. And when he chose to leave, I went with him. We both came out of our bodies at the same time, and we were in his hospital room. I could still look down and see him laying on the bed, me sitting beside him. And then there was this amazing, beautiful light up in the corner. And I watched my dad just walk into that light. He did not hesitate. And then all of a sudden, I'm back on the bed, and my dad's body sat up and did this grin kind of, and it would have freaked me out if I had not seen where my dad had just gone. And all of a sudden, I really got, when his body fell down, I really got that it was a bodysuit. I saw where my dad went. I saw the essence of my father, and he joined the light again. And all of the lies that have been told by a culture about death and how scary it is and how, foreboding, and it all fell down at the same time. But I tried to share some of this with my family, my brother particularly, but it was, again, the taboo. There was no space for it. And then it was about 8 years later when I would be through the Texas Youth Council, I would be sent to California to a conference, and I was standing on the beach saying to God, okay, I think I figured this part out. What are you bringing to me next? And all of a sudden...
What a question.
Right. And there was this man named Larry Rui, and he was also from Texas, which was a surprise. And his name tag was right in front of me. So I just looked up and I introduced myself. And he began to teach me and tell me about Jung. He asked me 2 questions. Do you follow your dreams? Do you meditate? And I remember looking at him and say, well, I dream, but I don't know what you mean by follow your dreams. And I pray, but I don't know what you mean by meditate. And that started to open the box, the mystery box. And through the work I did with him for several months, that would then guide me, my genie came out of the bottle, and she was not going to go back in now. She was done with the hiding. And that put me on a path that took me to the Jung Institute, where I stayed and learned for about 3 years, and where the Kundalini would start to get extremely loud and activated. I don't know if your guests know what Kundalini is, but it is the life force that brings form to everything. So The Kundalini, they say, stays coiled around the base of your spine 3.5 times, and it's what keeps us in form. So when we die, she unfolds herself, and off we go, and the body drops. She can choose to awaken in you and while you're still in body. Sometimes she jumps up and awakens something and puts you on a whole nother level of understanding and perception, so that gift that lives inside can be offered. And then she goes dormant again. And some of us, she starts to open and she moves up through the chakra system, awakening and cleansing the temple, this being the temple, so that great divine presence can live within. They say there are 3 stages to that Kundalini awakening. The first is the fire that burns all up and purifies the temple, burns the karma up. It's quite a cleansing process, and it's not so easy at times. But this happens so then she can cool the temple. And that's when you can cup your tongue and hold it back towards the back of your throat. And as you're meditating, divine elixir will fall inside of it, and you swallow it, and it just calms and cools the whole temple. And if it would appear on me like very fine rose powder. And if I had a sore on my lip or something, it would just go away in those moments of the cooling. For the third phase, divine presence to step inside. So that is what awakened me and kind of molded me in this temple, prepared this temple so that I could be a vehicle of service in the world. And then after that took 13 years of opening and work. And then she put me on my mission, which I still carry today. And I'm a grandma now, so I've been carrying it a while. And I just follow her instruction and the instruction of the divine and the instruction of this Mother Earth, because she has come to play in a very strong way with what she wants to be carried for all of us right now in this great time of change, because we are in a prophetic time of change that prophecy has been written about for generations and generations. And that prophecy prepared us, and now that prophecy is instructing us. So
That it
that's
is.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my. Firstly, thank you for sharing your story about you and your father. I've had many stories recently being shared with me of the most beautiful connections before a beloved one's passing. And especially in what I've noticed in our culture, we don't speak a lot about death, nor the personal experience by being with your loved ones in the midst of their passing. And so to hear these beautiful stories is a balm for my soul. It soothes me in remembering that it doesn't have to be scary. It doesn't have to be taboo. It doesn't have to be something to walk away from, but actually walk towards, because the completion process is so divine. So thank you for that. And then the next is remembering that for you, it took 13 years. And often I notice, even within myself and my community, there's this little thing in our ego that says, when does it happen? Is it going to happen now? And there's this need for satiation as soon as possible. And so to hear the journey of what one can take and the devotion of the length and the process, realizing that it's not about the end, but about the actual process of it. Because I feel like I am in the fire, right? And I will probably be in the fire for quite a long time. And I embrace that. And if there happens that there is another evolution of that for me, I will be so blessed and grateful. And to have experienced my Kundalini awakening and then go dormant was enough in itself, the fact that that happened. And I'm wondering if you can share your wisdom to those that are so eager to get those experiences, to feel as if they can touch the divine in these mystical ways that they can talk about, right? Versus the everyday way of connecting with the mother. What could you say to them to help them soften and open and be patient and trust?
Well, it's very important what you're bringing to mind for several different reasons. One of which is that we will, as you walk the path, the spiritual path, you'll come to understand that it's not a destination you're seeking, it's the journey itself. It's the journey itself. And that's important to remember, because as you start to step in and allow that journey to take you where it's going, you will learn how to, and this is really firm instruction she's given us for this great change we're in, to stay in the present moment. When your mind and your ego run ahead, you can get afraid of where you're going or try to manipulate it unconsciously, but it's still, you're trying to navigate. You're still trying to hold on to the control of the process. Or if you let your mind go backwards in time, you can get regretful and bring that regret into the present moment. So the work then is to really focus on staying fully in the present moment, because then what comes out of that is a trust that starts to get restored and a foundation of trust that you stand on. Because then you know whatever the divine wants to bring to you, it's going to bring to you in that present moment. And our work then is to embrace what's brought to us in that moment. Sometimes it's glorious, amazing experiences. Sometimes it's very challenging, testing experiences. Sometimes it is cleansing experiences where you've got to burn that karma of the old past. Particularly right now, we're burning a lot of karma for our intergenerational lines that we all come to sit at this world table with. So whatever comes to the present moment, though, that's what the divine needs you to embrace. Once that you fully embrace it and it's come to, and done what it was sent to do, then you step to the next present moment. And so you do. And as you do that, you begin to follow something. And as you learn how to have the humility to follow something, you start to enter a deeper, deeper relationship with the unknown. And that relationship is necessary for the mystic. That relationship is what will guide the mystic on the spiritual path. It's it's interesting because we come from a model in the West that's all about extraction.
Yes.
And so a lot of what we do when we first come into these ways is we come with an attitude of extraction. What can I get from this? And that's very different. It's a very different attitude, and it will bring a different consequence to you. So in all of the places where I'm sitting with people now, people are really working to how do I shift out of an extraction mode that is so imprinted on me because of the Western culture that it's brought me out of balance and it's cut me off from my nature, which is all about reception. My nature is about reception. I remember when there was a young woman that I had been sitting with and we had been in ceremony together, and she came and she said, Jyoti, and she was just grabbing my shirt. Jyoti, you got to tell me, what is the unknown? What do you mean by that? And I said, the unknown, the word unknown, how can I tell you about the unknown? It already tells you it's unknown. So, it's about that relationship, though, and beginning to restore relationships. So the mystery, and you come into every situation rather than coming in from judgment, an already made up mind about something, how something needs to be. You come in with curiosity and you sit at the door. People that push the door of heaven open too soon have hard consequence. Sometimes our path will take us and work us, and then all of a sudden you're sitting there, and now it's a time of waiting. It's a time to learn to cultivate patience and tolerance. It's a time of surrender. It's a time of letting go. It's a time of deep, deep listening. So those moments of pause in our spiritual walk are as significant as the ones that are rushing us forward in some way. These are some of the abilities that get reawakened as we take our march, as we follow that which is pulling us. You know, they say that, as I was sharing at the beginning about this story that will pounce upon you, well, there's a central archetype that is calling you back into itself, is the way Jung would talk about it. And so I remember one time lying on my bed in meditation and feeling like a hook took a hold of me and was like pulling me. And so it's that's the way it happens. God goes fishing and poof, you're the fish you got hold of, and it starts pulling you into itself. From that point on, it's not you doing it anymore. It's about you learning how to surrender and trust that which is pulling you into itself, so that you can be a full expression of your own authenticity, If you follow the unknown in the way I'm suggesting, it will take you to that expression of full authenticity, no doubt. No matter whether it be about your own full authenticity or a program or a project that you are holding. If you wanted to see what it's going to do, you allow it to show you how to get there, because it has an authentic voice as well. So the mother gives me many of what she calls her sacred seeds. And my work is to hold those seeds, to protect them, so that nobody else will try to rush in and form that seed or cultivate that seed a certain way, because then we'll miss the opportunity to see what the seed's about.
Keyword: prayer. Prayer. One of the things that I'm noticing for myself is I do ask the question, what am I trying to extract? Because it is such a deep conditioning. And I want to be curious anytime I'm following a path, to be clear, am I in alignment? Is there a pull? Am I still trying to extract something? And what is the consequence of that? And I remember there was a moment where I had been sleeping and I felt this energy pull me from my chest. And I felt as if I was an angel being beamed back up, and I could feel my wings and I could feel being led by my heart. And it was the most explosive, peaceful, expansive experience ever. And when I woke up, I was trying so hard to go back to sleep so that I could have that experience again. And then I walked for days wondering how I can get that back. And it was, again, this extraction of, you've given me a taste and now I want more. It's like, I want. And it was so humbling to get to a place on my knees to say, thank you for the experience. Whether I receive that again or not, that was a pull, and I now know what that pull feels like. And I'm a yes to following it in any way it's supposed to come to me. And it may not be that particular energetic way, but it's imprinted in me. And so that question of what am I extracting is such a valuable one. Realizing, like you said, there are consequences, and remembering the silence and the space. Oh my goodness, yes. And that's so uncomfortable at times, but so deeply needed. And so, yes, thank you.
Well, that's your wisdom showing again. Because that lesson alone was the teaching. You know, that and when we have that kind of presence and experience, it awakens something in our very DNA, because it's not something that we're getting, it's something we're remembering. It's something that is already in us that is waking itself. And when I really understood that, it started to kind of shake up the structure inside of me of how I perceive and my understanding of perception and my openness to it.
I'm like, I'm being blown away, like shivers, because there's something that it landed, and I don't know why it hadn't landed before, which is, yes, of course, we're always rediscovering what's within us. So I understood that part. And yet, whenever there was this mystical experience, I felt like it was being given to me. And they were two different things. And so what you're saying is that actually it's a remembering that it's within me. Of course it is. But for some reason, my mind didn't go there until right now. So yes, thank you.
Well, the part that might help you with that is that the realm of the gods, the realm of where the unseen dance, is a realm that's called an acausal realm. And the world that we live in is a cause and effect realm. They're very different spiritual laws that oversee these realms. So when I am brought into an acausal realm, that realm informs from 360 degrees. I am a part of this whole system that is breathing and living with me and through me and interconnecting with all of its parts to inform me. And it's all one pulsating field, if you will. When I come into that field and I bring my cause and effect thinking, then I start to bump up against things, and then my mind gets confused. So it's important to realize the differences of these things, because then you can let go and you can go in with your curiosity. And when that unseen world pulls you into itself, it's indoctrinating you because your soul is ready. There was a saying that I read years and years and years ago that I so appreciate. And I don't even remember where I got it from, and I'm really sorry, because I love to give the credit to the author of this. But it said, when your soul was strong enough to hold its own numinosity, then and only then would it awaken.
Mm.
And when I came to understand that it's not about good people or bad people or good situations and bad situations. It's not about that level of judgment. It's about understanding that there's a whole system operating here, and that there's consciousness and unconsciousness. And when I realize that when I'm unconscious, wherever I walk, I can harm things without even realizing I've stepped on something or been disrespectful or crossed a border. When I'm in my consciousness, I can sometimes fall asleep, but then I wake and go, whoa, what did I just do? And then I want to reframe, I want to recorrect, because I want to stay conscious. I want to be fully awake. That's what we came here to. This is called an earth school. That's why we come here, for our souls to be able to learn and awaken more, so evolution can keep moving forward. Barbara Marx Hubbard used to say that it was, she's taught a lot about the new human that is forming through this impulse from evolution itself. And evolution's impulse is who's defining us as we move with this impulse of evolution itself. So it's about, when you realize that, there's a liberation, because you can't make people become conscious. You can't make people wake up. Your consciousness, when it's awake in you, will spread itself to those around you. It will help bring the awakening. And then your work will be to catch those that are waking up and help them as they go through the waking process, because sometimes it's challenging. Sometimes it's having your own tribe, as some would like to say, be there to receive you, is also important.
Absolutely. And I know that you have cultivated with many in your community this incredible space to catch those that are in the process of awakening. And through that community, also birthing some incredible visions and projects and other things. Tell us a little bit about this community.
The community is called Kayamari. We came together before we had a land base that we came to live on and care for. So we're about 30 years old now. We were brought to an amazing, we call it our Crystal Mountain. It's a 160-acre ranch on the top of a mountain in the Sierra foothills, about an hour away from Yosemite. In the beginning days, there were around 16 of us that came together there. After when we had just acquired the property, and 3 of us were sent away for a couple of weeks to see what were we going to name our community. We had not met the Huichol at that point of our walk, so we didn't know about Kayamari, their healing spirit, the great healing spirit that they say watches over that portal to the other worlds, and that wherever Kayamari walks, medicines grow that heal communities. We didn't know that. But all 3 of us came back with the name Kayamari.
Of course.
And later, of course, so that's the name of our community, Kayamari. And we would later discover that our mountaintop was the place where all the deer from the regions and the hills around us would come so that they could, grow their herds. They would have their babies there. And so we had hundreds and hundreds of Kayamari that were all over this land. It was old Miwok land. And it was one of the first places that gold was discovered in this United States. And we know what happened after that. So, of course, the divine wanted us to sit right there and heal some of all that old history. And we would be brought a basket during ceremony with about 80 people. The presence of the mother would come and she would say, I'm going to hand you one of my most precious baskets. And in that basket are some of my most treasured jewels. Those jewels represent lines of prayer that go back to the original time. Do not mix them. Do not change them. Protect and keep them safe. And then walk them through the doorway of the millennia. I have something we're going to do. Now, we didn't really understand all of that. But up our 14-mile logger road would come the elders that would train us up in those medicine lines, those prayer lines that go back to the original time. And so for the next decade, the whole community would learn. Each of those lines brought protocol from the earth to learn how to live a way of life where all life is sacred, where there's reciprocity and collaboration, where there's heart and a sense of unity. And those brought us to the understanding of original principles. And then we would start to get the instruction. Many of us were receiving messages, and we'd walk through the doorway of the millennia. And so it was time to convene an International Council of 13 Indigenous Grandmothers. And there's a whole lot more story than we have time for with each of these steps along the trail. But we just kept doing what I've been talking about, staying in the present moment, embracing what she brought us, and then she brought us the next moment. And that has taken us down this trail till now. So we were with the grandmothers for about a decade, really helping to call in the resources that they needed, providing staff and care, helping them organize their events and support their prayer of unity that they were carrying around the world, which was also prophecy, because many tribes around the world had shared prophecy that there would come a time when the 13 grandmothers would come to shake the world awake. And so they did.
And
a couple of years before they were going to fly and independently on their own, she would give me the next seed, which was called the fountain. And it was about restoring an economic model that's based on reciprocity and collaboration and guided by nature and the sacred. And we didn't know what that one meant either. But step by step, she's put something in motion. And it's 9 years since that seed was received and activated. And now we're sitting on the world stage at a most amazing moment on this planet where we're at a moment of choice. And all the divine has brought to the table everything we really need to have for this moment of choice so that we can restore and return ourselves to a path that is aligned with the Mother Earth herself and brings balance to this creation and sustainability, you know. So she has us doing the work of what that would mean. And the economy of something means, in that way of holding it, is that everybody comes to the table. We've all been holding a thread, if you will, that we've been cultivating through generations, some of us, to come to the world table now and identify that thread. And the blessing is that the original people came from that original time with a thread through horrendous experiences and challenges, but they brought it unbroken to the world table. And now they're here to instruct our weaving so that we can all at some moment step back and see the new part of the story she's awakening in all of us and our place in it, our sacred place in it. So I didn't know I was going to be walking where I'd walked. I had no aspiration. I fell in love with my beloved. And that love is what has carried me. My path has not been easy. It's not been without challenges, for sure. It has. But every one of them became a teaching, and every one of them built something stronger and awakened something deeper in me with every step I took. And the most delicious part and the treasure of my life is that I get to walk with so many beautiful, humble people that are devoted to authenticity and the light of love.
Thank you, Jyoti. You also answered all the other questions I wanted to seed in there, including the fountain. Before we do our last final quick questions, I did want to share that, and I shared with you prior to this too, that I adore your book. And it's something that I keep right by my bed because I read it every day before I go to sleep, because it helps me access my dreams, because I know you will always ask me my dreams. And so this has been a great way for me to activate it. And if I'm saying it correctly, the title of the book is And When Angels Called My Name. Did I say that correctly?
An angel called my name.
An angel called my name.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it because there's so many stories that you weave in there along with teachings, and it's so valuable. And I adore that book. So thank you for writing that book.
Well, I must tell you, I had a bit of resistance because I didn't know if I could. I didn't want to be writing a book because my ego wanted to write a book,
Right.
or to give that impression. But I was told, I was working in Switzerland at the time when it first started coming. And the woman that I was going to that was helping me with my analysis and learning myself, healing myself, awakening myself, she said, just let it start falling down on the page. Just let it be that way. And then Spirit said to me, the book that's coming through you will be one that other people will recognize their story in it, and they'll have a place to start their search, their understanding, their search for understanding. And one night I was sleeping and I was dreaming, and all of a sudden it was like somebody pushed the pause button, and the voice said to me, when you get up in the morning, you need to title the book An Angel Call My Name. And then it was like they pushed the pause button again, and my other dream kept going on. So that's how the title came. It's an old book now because I wrote it about an awakening process. Now people are wanting me to write the next one that says,
Ooh.
what is when the vehicle is ready, then what?
Yes.
And so I'm waiting to see. I've got some world movements happening right now that I must keep my focus on. And I would hope when that's bubbling up and doing its magic, that then I'll have some time to just take off and let it happen during a retreat space, rather than working and writing at the same time. That's a challenge. I'm 73 years old now, so that's a little more than I want to do that way. So
absolutely, you do hold a lot.
I'm asking Spirit to let me have a retreat to write if that book if that book wants to have voice, I would be just the vehicle of it coming through to give voice to whatever it has to say.
Beautiful.
But I think more than anything, it would be a demonstration of follow your prayer, follow your dream. As Joseph Campbell said, follow your bliss and your bliss will follow. It's true. And if you can go with it, follow your path without expectation of outcome, then you will know that your ego is not the one running things, and you will allow it to surrender itself and become reabsorbed in the higher self, that divine spark of light that each and every one is. So that's part of the story that pounced on me.
I love the story that pounced on you. Okay, we're going to wrap up with 3 quick questions, okay?
Okay.
All right. Number 1, what does devoted mean to you?
Devoted means that one is in selfless service, that you're showing up. You know, early on, the mother said to our whole community, the key to the magic kingdom is just show up. And that sounds really simple, and it's not so simple to do. Just show up. The devotee continues to make that practice when things get really challenging, because we're an organization that's 30 years old. There have been times when we're fully flowing and the resources and everything are there. Just like the ocean, there's a tide goes out and a tide comes in. When the tide goes out, we get down to like a bone marrow sometimes. And that's when you really see the devotees, because they're devoted to carrying a prayer, and they're going to get creative to source their life and their livelihood. But they're devoted. They're connected to that prayer, and they're going to stay focused and go where it takes them. And so they ride that wave. And then at some point, as the ocean does, it begins to spread itself out again, and we flourish again. You know, so that for me is a devotee. They keep showing up, and their offering is selfless in nature.
Mm. Yeah. One last question that weaves 2 together, which is there a teacher, a mentor, or a grandmother that desires to show up and share one last thing, whether it's a story or a statement or a song or an invocation, before we close?
Mm-hmm. Let me just be quiet for a minute and see. Well, I have a granddaughter. Her name is Dylan. And I want to bring the children in. She wants to bring the children in. She was a heart transplant baby, and she was only with us for 5 years. But she was quite a remarkable being, not just because she was my granddaughter. You know, before she was 1 year old, she had the Attorney General of California write a proclamation for her life. The mayor of San Francisco declared a Dylan Kiana Wicks Day. She had the San Francisco Giants raising money for her. She had 32,000 hits on her care bridge. I used to call her a force of nature. And she was supposed to be born on Valentine's Day. She was a little bit late. But her mission was everything's about heart. Come back to our heart, live in our heart. There's an intelligence of the heart that is ready to instruct us if we will sit still and listen. So I caught a lullaby for her, and I'm going to see if I can sing it for you, so that she might touch that child within in a way that will light them up and let them, even in the midst of this pandemic and these great world changes that are going on, if we can come back to the child within, we'll find a joy there that will help us open our creative response to the time we're with. So I'm going to sing this to that child and you. I'm calling the dream man, I'm calling the dream man to come on down, come on down. I'm calling the dream man, I'm calling the dream man to come on down, come on down. Bring your dreams of possibility, come on down, come on down. I'm calling the Holy One, I'm calling the Holy One to come on down. Come on down. I'm calling the Holy One. I'm calling the Holy One to come on down. Come on down. Light your fire within us. Come on down. Come on down. I'm calling the Holy Mama. Calling the Holy Mama. Come on down. Come on down. I'm calling the Holy Mama, calling the Holy Mama, come on down, come on down. Wrap your cloak around this precious one. Come on down, come on down.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, Dylan, first and foremost, being here with us, and Grandmother Jyoti for gifting us that lullaby and all of the wisdom that has been shared today. Thank you so much.
And thank you for the good work you're doing, spreading so much good wisdom and, heart-generated thought. Thank you very much.
It is a blessing to serve you. My deepest desire is to bring nourishment to your soul, activate and enliven your inner landscape, and find inspiration through the sacred stories of others so we remember we are collectively woven. If you're currently playing with us in our devoted Discord, remember to submit the keyword and complete the other moves to earn points and win amazing prizes. If you're not playing yet, visit devotedway.com/star, STAR, to sign up. If you would like to listen to more Devoted Way podcast episodes, watch Devoted TV, or read about mysticism, spiritual devotion, magic and intuition, or creating a prosperous new world, I invite you to enter our virtual temple home at devotedway.com. As I continue to serve, may I humbly ask for a sacred exchange. I would so appreciate it if you would write a love note, otherwise known as a review. Share the episode with your friends and community members, and engage with me on Instagram. Stay sacred and discover your path and join the Devoted Way. May magic and miracles occur in your life every day as you co-create a prosperous new world with the Great Mother. Until next time, this is Sora Schilling.